right, we are back for another episode of Vyper Podcast. My name is Dayne.
I'm Sam.
I think I'm Dylan.
Welcome, Dylan.
We have a new guest, as you can see. Somebody that is not of familiar faces to the other episodes. Dylan is here with us today. Why are you shaking so hard, dude? Jeez.
He must be a little nervous.
He must be.
No, Sam's watch is like glistening and like.
Dude, I was
catches me
talking
off
about this on a
guard.
previous episode, Target Watch.
Alex got
I know
you
you
hooked
told
on
me you
those.
get all those Target watches. They're fly.
Target watches.
Yeah. Well, thanks. You're not getting it back.
From a mile away, it does not look like a Target watch. So.
No, I know.
No.
It looks like you guys pay me even more money.
It looks like
He's a seven-figure man who spent $7 at Target.
Self-made. No,
Once you pick it up, though, you kind of do feel the quality drop a little bit.
as you guys can see, we got some new equipment. We finally upgraded 2 of our mics. Now we have the Rode. Got the idea of these from, we're on Oil and Whiskey podcast.
How was it? Both you guys were.
It was awesome. I had a great time.
it was pretty good.
What'd you guys talk about?
Why are you staring at me?
Because he's talking. It was good. Oil and Whiskey was a great experience. Learned a lot. They had these mics, which are the Rode podcasters or Procasters. Then they had these nice little things that you can move around too, so it doesn't like vibrate.
Okay.
Then got the arms because those things, when you move them,
They're a little
when you
noisy.
even touch it, they're kind of noisy.
We don't have any gross cables on the table. Like, we
Yeah,
could play like
yeah,
chess while we're doing
seriously.
this.
Could have Alex lay on the table. We could eat food off of
That's kind of weird. I'm gonna sit that podcast out. Love you, Al.
No,
Is that an HR violation if we do that?
I don't know.
You
Not HR.
volunteered
I'm
for
not
it.
HR anymore. It's just weird. It's just,
can you
and I'm not
stop
gonna do
shaking
it.
your legs so much?
I'm burning calories, dude.
Gosh, dude, it's like freaking making me nervous.
All right, so let's start. Last time we talked about everything leading up to Vyper and sort of like the early days when you were on your own, packaging stuff. We talked about the previous facility. I guess we're sort of looking to talk to Dylan about like his intro into the Vyper world. So
Yeah, let's give him a prequel of what we ended on though. So
that's what I just said.
oh
I just
No,
said the last facility.
oh yeah,
We talked about how Dayne was on his own, pulling out his hair, trying to.
Crying.
Yes, and he needed his big brother.
He did. Come save me. So I did. Now he's got nothing to say. It's so weird. Usually you can't get him to stop talking.
He went quite kind of fast on that one.
So no, we left off of it was at a Vyper is at a point where it was too much to handle for one person, and that's when you were at Virtual Machine Design still, and we had the conversation of, hey man, like this shit's starting to take off pretty quickly here, and I need some help, and that was at a point when you had a good paying job, and you had a house, you had mortgage payments, like you had stuff on the line. And that's kind of where I want to leave it for you to talk about is like go in depth of what you were feeling at that stage, because that's a huge jump. And like, how did you make that decision? Because sure, there's people listening that are in the same situation. They're in the same boat where they have a comfortable paying job, and it's hard to make that jump of faith. So
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more dangerous than comfort, right? Like you just get set in your ways and you don't want to change. And if you're not changing, you're not growing. So that's where I was, and I had to get out of that rut. And luckily, we had Vyper that, like Dayne spoke about on the previous podcast, that we was at the stage of needing more help. And it was either I jump and come aboard or not and just continue not to grow and just kind of be, comfortable, but regretting it probably my entire life. So I had to make a decision, and definitely wasn't an easy decision to make. I mean, it took months of, laying in bed with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling, wondering what the hell I should do. And, it was 2020. So we were it was April 2020 when I quit at RMD. And so obviously it was in the middle of the pandemic, right? And like there's a ton of uncertainty there.
I saw how you snuck that in there.
Snuck what in there?
Pandemic.
Oh, I mean, I think that's pretty obvious now.
That was good. That was smooth.
We'll save that for another podcast. But
That'll be an after hours.
Yeah.
that'll be
That'll be a long one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there's a ton of uncertainty. Like, okay, how are we going to sell a premium product during this economic time, right? And it's like there's a ton of fear there. I was scared shitless. Like, I mean, I can't speak for Dayne, but I'm sure he was as well. But I mean, not to throw shade at you at all, but like you were still building at that time. I felt like I had a solid foundation built already, and I was nervous of totally losing it all. You know what I mean? I had just bought a new house out in the country, and I love it. It's beautiful away from people, so it makes it even better.
Yeah.
But like, just bought that house in June, and it's like less than the prior June, and less than a year later, now I'm going to be switching occupations and potentially not making any money for a very long time. Scary, And I have a wife, right? And we're married for a while, but I didn't have any kids or anything like that at the time, so that made the decision a lot easier. It was like, if shit did go south and it didn't work out, I definitely had time to rebound and recover, right? So that was the biggest factor in my determination was, well, if it doesn't work, you still got time to go and try something else and, still salvage what you got left, right? So that made the decision a lot easier to make was, fuck it.
Mm-hmm. So take it back even before that, even before the decision, what were you doing?
I was a design engineer at RMD.
Well, I know what you're telling. You're talking to me. I know that already. Tell the people that are listening. What were you doing?
I was working.
Who are you? Where'd you go to school? How long did you work at RMD?
I'm a size 12 shoe. I had 35 waist.
My social security number is 101.
35.
34 waist. Sorry.
Bump that up.
Fuck you.
Wow.
34.
All right.
That was a low blow.
Where were you?
For what size waist are you?
Guess.
34.
32.
No, you're not.
32 waist. 34 legs.
34?
34
You
legs.
got long legs.
I got long ass legs.
We're pretty close to the same height.
He's like a
You
grasshopper.
maybe got like an inch or two on me, but
Yeah.
You ever seen Bug's Life? He reminds me of him.
the really tall, shorts all the way up.
Yeah, shorts. There we go. Nice plug in there, dude.
I got you. Don't worry. Sorry, Dayne.
Damn, I thought I was friends with the cameraman. Damn, what the hell?
I know, but he set me up.
The editor doesn't take sides.
I
Or
don't
not the
edit
editor.
anymore. Yeah.
The host. Sorry, the host.
Oh.
Is that
All
All
right,
right,
you're
so
gonna
I
tell
gotta
us-
say I have a little bit of experience doing a similar thing. So I worked in news for a while, and I sort of climbed up my way for like 3 years, and started on floor crew, worked my way up, and then was like a news photog for a while, and that's a similar thing. And I jumped from there with no job and sort of attempted to do sort of like a little side venture thing, or at the time it was like full time, but it was a pretty scary leap. I mean, not knowing when your next check is gonna come in is kind of a terrifying experience, especially when you continue to watch your bank account dwindle.
Yeah, it goes fast too. Once there's nothing coming in to replenish it, and it's just constantly withdraw after withdraw,
So-
it goes fast.
Did you do anything on the side while you?
No,
when you
everything
started?
was all Vyper. So I guess to get back on Dayne's side of it, so I worked for our family's previous company, right? And I worked there since high school, probably since even middle school. I think I started there like 13, 14 years old. So every position in that company, besides obviously like financials, I had some role in playing at one point in time. So, I mean, from literally starting out cleaning the lunchroom, cleaning the offices, bathrooms, after school when I would come in with mom to, in the office designing machinery and everything in between, which is, I think, set me up great for working at Vyper, for starting Vyper with you, because like we did the same thing. We did everything from taking out garbages to, making, course correcting and course changing business decisions and everything in between. And like, I feel like if you're going to do something like this, you have to be okay with that. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, you have to know every single aspect of your business. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's just plain and simple. And I think, like, and you see it when the owners and founders are removed from those businesses that they struggle. And it totally makes sense why.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get these suits and ties in there that, went to school, think they know everything, and they know jack shit. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean anything. Like, you got to get down and dirty and get freaking dirt under your nails and
Yeah, I think it's
bootstrap
pretty
it.
important to understand almost every aspect, especially as like an owner, because then you can set expectations accordingly.
You can, and if you're getting screwed or not, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what it is, like, if you're the one doing all the pricing and, doing all the shopping around and price hunting and this and that, and, you know what the stuff costs and what it takes to get stuff done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, somebody that's, I don't know.
Think of how many times we ran into that, though, where if it was somebody else doing the purchasing,
Oh, yeah.
we would have got a half better price than or a half
Worse.
more expensive
Yeah.
price than what we kept pushing and pushing for.
Yeah, and you got to work them, Like, I mean, honestly, probably Vyper's taught me that the most too, is just the customers are always looking for the best deal, right? That kind of transferred into my mentality as well when we're price shopping and pricing things out, is looking for the best deal without sacrificing quality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you got to be able to work your suppliers in to get the best price possible. I mean, within reason, right? You're not trying to burn any bridges or,
Not trying to screw anybody
everybody's
over.
in this for business, right? But work them, that's what this is all about. Everybody, you got to pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you're at RMD, and you're a design engineer there. For how long were you there?
Well, like I said, I started when I was 13, 14 years old. Worked my way up. I was out on the assembly floor for primarily all of high school, so probably at least 4 years for sure, maybe another 5, maybe a fifth year in there. And then when I went to college for mechanical design, that's kind of when I transferred over into working in the office with our dad, and sitting alongside him designing machinery and actually building stuff, which was honestly working alongside him every single day. I mean, I did learn a lot in school, but the value wasn't nearly as great as it was working alongside of him. Like, and he doesn't have any schooling. He's all self-taught, and by far the smartest person I know, right?
Yeah.
I can't wait till we can have him on the podcast. That's gonna be
that'd
a really
cool.
good one.
Yeah.
But like working alongside him and just learning from him, learning as much as possible. Like, it was constantly every day something new I was learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was worked alongside him all through school, and then after college, worked there full time in the office with him, and he had a lot on his shoulders with the whole design. He was the only engineer design person there, right? So I took a lot off his shoulders and allowed him to focus on the innovative products, the new products, and then I would assist him with that, obviously, but that's what obviously he loves doing, right? And then I would get the products from him kind of once we had a final design, and then I would take him through the final stages of getting it set up and getting working with the controller and getting everything set up in the company and getting the parts out and getting quotes and vendors set up and all that good stuff. And then I was also, a big part of that job was also support for the machining department. Mm-hmm. So there was constantly questions and problems with prints and parts, and I had to help them out, make sure they were making the correct parts with the correct tolerances, so they weren't spending a whole bunch of time and money making parts that we can't use.
Yeah. So did that for 15 years, and then it got to a point where RMD, Rush Machine Design, was eventually bought out by
Bailey Industrial,
and then they were purchased by JPW.
Yep.
And
which is still even owned by an even larger company. So there's
right. So
it's kind of dumb.
For anybody listening, understand kind of what Dylan was talking about in the beginning too. Once you take the owners out after like a purchase or an acquisition, what happened to the overall flow at that organization? From like just even happiness of like employee happiness to like how long it took to get something done.
Well, I guess first, I mean, it was when they come in saying, "Oh, don't worry, we're not going to change anything." That's when you should be that's when you should be looking for another job, because that means everything is going to change.
Yeah.
And what was your question?
Question was, so you get.
I hope Brent can edit that out.
No, don't
No,
worry
we'll
about
keep it in. Just people can see how you don't listen.
That's the
So,
only reason
I was
we had
taking
you
a
on
drink
here.
of my I was taking a drink of my water and
Well,
like
your
just
gulp
had
was
you
too
on here
loud.
to
You couldn't hear
smear
it.
you.
Was.
no, I was parched.
Yeah.
So Bailey bought RMD, JPW bought Bailey Industrial. They come in saying, "Hey, don't worry, nothing's going to change," and clearly everything changes because you're. I remember talking to you offset of or at that point when you're like, "Dude, I don't like it here anymore."
No, because I mean, it's just there's a lot of red tape then. You know what I mean? Like, so when the founder is gone, the first thing that happens is morale goes down the toilet, like almost immediately, And then the second thing that happens is they come in and make a whole bunch of changes, like, and then just they have different goals than the founders did, right? So like to the founders, that was their baby, that was their everything, right? That's what they spent 20, 25, 30 years of their life building, if not their entire life, right? So like you can't replace that. You can't just come in off the street and replace that and think that they're going to make this go,
Right.
like that's just not how it works. So like to take the founder out and then try and imitate it, it doesn't work, especially when you have the core group of people there that most of them have been there with the founders since the very early stages, So then it's kind of weird because, it leaves those people in kind of a gray area too. Not saying it's bad. I'm not saying all acquisitions are like this at all. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
it could be like, I mean, it wasn't like Elon Musk came in and fired 50% of our of the employees.
Well,
you know what I mean?
those
But,
needed to go anyways.
yeah, those needed to go. But it's a lot of change. You know what I mean? And like, especially when you go from a smaller company like our dad's company was, 25, 28 people it was, the decision-making process was right there. You know what I mean? Like, you had a problem, came in, fixed it, just like we do here at Vyper. You got a problem, we come in, we talk about it,
Solve it.
digest the situation and throw out the solutions and pick the best one, right? Whereas something like that, like in my previous work culture is, okay, we have this problem. We know it's a problem. We know it's been a problem for months. What are we going to do to fix it? Well, I got this idea. Okay, well, great. We'll talk about it. Okay. Weeks go by, nothing. Hey, I'm working on this. Got any answers for me? Nope. Weeks go by, still got nothing. So it's like,
It's gotta be a tough job.
it is tough. Like there were days where, I shouldn't say that, there were weeks where I probably could have missed the whole week and nobody would have really known,
Yeah.
besides the support that I needed, that I had to provide for the machinist. But like, other than that, like it was super stressful because like I mentioned in the beginning, when we started here, when you get comfortable, you're not growing. I wasn't growing. I was literally just sitting there. I felt like wasting away, like we had new ideas, new products, new stuff that we wanted to do, but they wouldn't they said they wanted to do it, but it would never happen. And eventually you get sick of that.
Yeah.
Like whatever, screw that,
So at this point, you got purchased and nothing's happening. You're kind of getting sick and frustrated with your position and feel kind of like you're capped, like there's nowhere really to go. And you're making all this, like you're making a good salary.
Yeah, I'm making a great earning by far, which, like I said, a comfortable earning, which is hard to let go, you know what I mean? Especially with there's so much uncertainty and like being a huge risk. And it was just, it depends what you're looking for in life, right? What do you want? Do you just want to be comfortable and punch a time card and go home and forget about it? Fine, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
But do you want to continue to grow and continue to push yourself and continue to be looking for more and more and more and more and what's next? Then, you're always going to be looking ahead. What should I do? What's next? Okay, that was fun. Learned a lot. Cool. What's next?
So was there an immediate time when did you start helping Dayne out and then leave, or were you just like, Dayne needs the help, I'm done here, I'll start helping?
No, I mean, I was helping him. I was working full time at RMD, and then I was also driving up to Green Bay and helping him at night. So I have to give a shout out to the 2008 Dodge Avenger that we
Yeah, buddy.
drove through hell and
Parted
back.
with less than a year ago.
A little over a year.
Yeah.
It was probably it was a tough decision to make, but it had to
When I
go.
started, you were still driving it.
I know,
so-
I love that car. But no, I was working full time at RMD, and I would get done at 3:30, and then I would immediately drive up to Green Bay, which is about a 45-minute drive from there. And then Dane and I would literally box chairs, I don't know, till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Listen to Andy Frisella.
Listen to
His podcast.
MFCEO project. Like, dude, I remember the first time I listened to Andy Frisella, like, I think you turned me on to him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you found him, but he's like, dude, you got to listen to this dude. He has a lot of good advice. I'm like, okay. I listened to him a couple times. I'm like, wow, this dude is like, his fucking head is the size of a semi. Like, but then the more I listened to him, the more I got into him, like, I understood him. You know what I mean? Like, I think I listened to every single MFCEO project. We listened to him multiple times, you know, and fuck, the dude does have a lot of great information.
See, before you got in the entrepreneur side, you thought he had a big head.
Yeah,
But then when
well,
you actually start to figure out what he
Exactly.
was talking about, and like you were living it, you're like, oh damn, like
He's got a big head, but it's full of knowledge.
no, seriously, like
No, he talks about that in his podcast too. You have to have a certain sort of arrogance, right, to do this. You know what I mean? But like, there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. You know what I mean? Like, it's a balancing act to make sure that you're not being arrogant, right? Because obviously nobody wants that. So I mean, but yeah, that's a very good point that you make. Is I didn't think he was being. I thought he was being arrogant and being an asshole until I got into it, the entrepreneur world, and was like, holy fuck, this guy's literally speaking the truth. Like, everything he's saying is coming true. We're experiencing right now, or it came true at one point in time. And I'm like, now I fucking love this dude. You know what I mean? I think I've listened to literally every single podcast of his multiple times, like, every day on my way to work.
Yeah.
So
every
with
single
that
day.
being said, I want to take a quick detour away from the conversation about Dylan and talk about the fact that you guys went and saw him and went to his
RT Syndicate.
Yeah, which if we have the clip, which we'll include like right now.
How's it going, guys? My name is Dane Rush. I'm co-founder of Vyper Chairs alongside my brother. Andy, you actually have one of our detailing chairs in your garage. But my question is, at what revenue stage of your company did you start becoming more hands-off from the daily operations by hiring for higher level positions so you can focus more on the future growth of your company? Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I also sit on your stool and roll around my garage smoking weed, just so you know.
And then he calls me.
Yeah, that's true. I scoot around like a little kid on the stool in my garage. Has my logo on it and everything. It's a great product, bro. I hope you sell a gazillion of them.
That was cool how you did that last time.
Yeah, well, I just did it this time too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's an edited part.
Yeah,
Yes.
you did it. You did it with the video that we made.
Yep.
That was really cool.
Yeah, I just laid it over the top.
Yeah, I like that.
Just so it didn't interrupt, but people could see it if they wanted to.
So yeah, we went to RT Syndicate, which is Andy Frisella's like.
With Ed Milet and David Goggins.
Yeah, like his, what do you want to say, like business mentorship kind of group.
Got to
And
ask a question too.
yeah, so Dylan and I drove to St. Louis, and like a few weeks before, you're able to submit a question. And I did it online, and I never heard anything back. And then we're laying in bed.
Not together.
We're laying.
I know you guys are brothers, like a bunk bed or something.
Dylan, weirdly enough, Dylan bought just a one-bedroom.
single twin.
So
You ordered the rose package, the rose petals special.
we're laying there, and I like some weird reason I'm like, dude, I'm gonna just go check my spam. And I went and checked my spam, and sure shit, I was picked to ask a question at the event like the next morning. And I'm like, cool, I think I have what I want to ask them. And whatever, the next day goes on, and I was in the PM group to ask the question. So one thing Dylan and I noticed on the people asking questions in the morning group is nobody was saying their name.
Yeah. No, they were saying their names, but they weren't saying like what they do or like what business they were associated with. I'm like, why the fuck is nobody taking this massive opportunity to give themselves a little shout out,
boost,
a little shout out in front of probably a couple thousand on like-minded business people. I'm like, what a wasted opportunity. Like, I'm like, Dayne, when you ask your question, you have to say that you're with Vyper Industrial. Like, you have to.
Well, I brought it to you first, and you're like, dude, I don't know if I would say that, because I was gonna say that. Hey, man, you have a chair in your garage. We have a chair in your garage, and you're like, oh, I don't know if we should say that. I'm like, dude,
it's because it could either go one of two ways, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
of course,
but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So Dayne did it.
So yeah, we're at launch. I'm like, we're kind of like going back and forth of like, dude, okay, should I say it like this? Should I say it like this? No, keep it short and sweet. So whatever. The time comes where I have
just imagine.
I have the mic, and
he was fucking nervous.
I was nervous as hell, dude. Yeah, I got 3,000 people, and like my heart's racing, and like you got Ed Milet and Andy Frisella. Like, dude, we listen, like you just said, we listen to him every single night, and now I'm able to ask them a question. Like, that's pretty cool. And the question was, well, first of all, I started it off of like, hey, how's it going, guys? My name's Dayne Rush, like first and last name, with Vyper Industrial alongside my brother Dylan, and like right there is a huge plug. And not only that,
nobody else did
it. And then immediately after that, I'm like, Andy, you actually have one of our chairs in your garage. And he didn't say anything. No one said anything. I'm like, in my mind at that point, I'm like, dude, idiot.
Flop.
Yeah. That sucks. Like, I was hoping for him to like stop immediately, be like, yeah, dude, your chair's awesome.
Yeah.
But like complete flop. So then I'm even more nervous now asking the question. I can't remember what it was. And then they go on, answer the question, and then right after got done, I'm like, okay, cool, thanks guys. And he's like, oh yeah, man, by the way, I do have one of your chairs in my garage, and I roll around on it while I'm smoking weed. he's like, I roll around on it like a little kid with my feet dangling. And Ed Milet's like, yeah, and you call me. And he's like, no, but for real, man, you guys got an awesome product, and I hope you sell it. He said a gazillion. I hope you sell a gazillion of them. And I'm like, right when I sat down, I'm like, dude, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Like, we've been listening to him for how long, and he actually like noticed our product.
That's pretty sweet.
Definitely a highlight. I mean, I almost want to say highlight of your my life.
Dude, that was
like,
pretty sick.
Damn.
For real, like the dude's a fucking idol, and for him to even give 10 seconds of recognition is like, I don't know. It's a feeling I've never felt before. Like, it was fucking
you didn't
cool.
have it like on your wedding day or
that's a different feeling.
That's a different feeling. Right.
So a little side tangent on that, like I want to express that anyone listening, like if you have an opportunity and you feel it in your gut, I always look at things this way: is like if you're out doing something, you see someone or like you don't know if you should go do something, think to yourself on your drive home, would you be regretting not doing that thing? Because that's what I thought when we're at lunch. I'm like, okay, what if I just...
like, it's going to be a long 6-7 hour drive home, and you're going to be like, fuck, I should have said it.
I should have said it. Because it's going to be easy driving home to be like, oh, damn, I wish I would have. In the moment, it's going to be hard and nervous, and you're going to be sweaty and, like, heart's beating. Mm-hmm. But, like, you just have to take that chance. And who knows, maybe 9 times out of 10, it's a complete flop. But, like, that one time is going to set you up for who knows what, Mm-hmm. So, like, dude, if whatever it is, like, if you have an opportunity to, like, meet somebody or do something, like, take that chance.
Yeah.
As scary as it is
you just did it in L.A. too with at the pizza shop.
David Dobrik. Like, we're eating pizza at Dobrik's. My favorite part of that was Alex. Alex is like, right when we pull up, what did he say?
We're not going to meet any celebrities here. There's no celebrities here.
He's
There's
like,
nobody even here.
He calls me out right away. Oh, Dayne, looks like there's a lot of celebrities here.
Well, I don't understand what he's expecting. Like,
I know.
for him to just all be hanging out there, not doing anything else.
So I let him, and then we literally walk around the corner as we're walking in. David's right-hand man, David Dobrik's, like, Isa or something, Isa, is sitting right there. I'm like, dude, that's, like, his right-hand man. I'm like, I guarantee if he's sitting there, David's going to be coming. We go and get our pizza. We're sitting outside. Fucking red Ferrari pulls up. And
like, what, you were sitting right next to you. Mm-hmm. Was it like 10, 15 minutes we were sitting there? Not even?
Probably not even. And
no, it was less than that, yeah.
Red Ferrari pulls up and David Dobrik comes, pulls in. And, like, as we're walking on, I'm like, dude, I'm going to go say hi. And if he remembers, great. If he doesn't, whatever.
Still said hi.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, and he gave me a piece of pizza. You know, it's just shit like that where it's like, go do it. Because, again, we would have gotten in the car and we would have drove away and I would have been like, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I just go say hi, you know? But little side tangent.
Yeah.
So
Well, thanks for sharing both those stories.
you're at Vyper, or you're at the point right now where you're leaving RMD 3:30.
Yep.
And you're coming up to Vyper to help me box chairs and kind of get in the routine. How long did you do that? How long did we do that for?
Man, I want to say, so it was probably 10 months, I want to say, because I remember doing our first Black Friday on the floor in the old facility. Seriously, we had duct tape on the ground with black Sharpie on what the chair models were, all lined out on the floor. It was for Black Friday because I remember we were pumped. We sold like $2,000, you know, like
Oh yeah.
you know,
It was a
like,
banger
fuck
day,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And we had all laid out, and I remember, you know, my wife Nicole would come up too, and she would wrap backrests
Yep.
because we both fucking hated
Dude.
wrapping backrests. So the backrest of the chair we would wrap with foam, and it was a pain in the ass, like because it's just an awkward shape, and it's like it was stupid to do. And Dane and I hated doing it. My lovely wife Nicole would always come and wrap the
crushed it, dude.
backrest. It was like
She killed it.
it was great. But anyway, you know, I remember doing that, you know, for our first Black Friday. And at the time, we're like, shit, we did really fucking good, you know? Like, we might have made some money, you know? It was kind of cool.
Well, at that point, you don't know costs or anything.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't know the cost of the product or the building or like anything. So you see the money and it's like, oh, damn, okay. Like,
Yeah.
you're thinking you could take that all whole, but of course you got to pay bills.
Right, of
You know?
course. But it just proved validation that people wanted our product. You know what I mean? That people were willing to pay for it. Just that alone, that, you know, that feeling of accomplishment is huge, you know, especially when there's so much uncertainty and so much doubt. You know what I mean? Like, to have a good holiday, you know, sale is like, at that point in the company's life was like fucking super important. Like, if we would have flopped, if it would have been a shitty Black Friday, like, who knows what would have happened? We might have said fuck it and just hung it up, you know?
When you were coming in your free time, were you just boxing orders or were you doing
We were
inventory?
doing everything,
were you
dude.
ordering?
Well, we never really did much inventory because we never had anything. So inventory was
point.
super easy,
Yeah.
right? But like, we were answering emails too. So I remember this vividly. In our old office, you had the cubicle office.
yeah.
I had like the front desk receptionist
He was their
desk
secretary.
because that's all we had. It was like a studio. Like, there were no rooms, right? So
I've seen pictures.
Dude,
Yeah.
can you imagine somebody walking in that didn't?
I know, dude.
Walks around the corner, sees you.
yeah. Hey, what's up?
Expecting like a.
Well, we did have one office, but it was our makeshift photo room.
Yeah.
You would have been,
Oh, dude,
that would have lost his mind. But it was literally just like a white sheet on the wall. And
It was bad.
we just needed a room that we could keep clean and that we could turn the lights off. And that was literally the only room besides the bathroom. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
So I was at this like receptionist desk, and that was my desk. And Dane was in the cubicle like 10 feet away. So like, we could literally just yell at each other when we had questions. Like, there was no doors. Like, that was one of the worst things
Zero
about that.
privacy.
Zero privacy. You couldn't talk about anything. Like, it was just wide open, right? But anyway, I remember, so one of the daily things I used to do is enter orders in. Remember when I would go on hello@vyperchair.com and I would go through and enter all the orders in, and we would star them as we entered them in into the spreadsheet. Holy fucking time consuming was that.
Dude.
Like,
See, this is why I want to bring everyone else on, because you have things that like I forgot about.
yeah, so like,
Damn.
I would go in and enter orders for the day when I first got there because Dane was busy doing other stuff, run around like a chicken with his fucking head cut off, you know, for the whole
Literally.
day. So I would come in, first thing I would do is enter orders in, so they were in the spreadsheet, so we knew what orders we had to ship out, right? So it was super primitive, right? It was literally a fucking spreadsheet, and it wasn't even Shopify at the time. What was it called?
No, we just did Google. Oh, it was Webflow.
Webflow. So orders would come into our email, and I would literally manually type them into our spreadsheet.
Into Gmail. So like, or not Gmail, Google Sheets. So we had it broken down by seat color, leg color, wheel color.
Like 100 different fucking columns. It was way too, like,
And
it was
you go one
super
by
confusing.
one, email by email. And once you entered it in, so like, let's say it was an elevated steel max, black, he will put ESM, next column, B, next column, B, next column, B. And we use that spreadsheet for packaging orders. So then once he would enter one, he would start. Can you imagine how, like, one error you'd miss their entire
it just
order?
sounds
It was, yeah.
time-consuming.
It was super time consuming. But like doing that, it showed me, how good of days we were having. Because at the time we didn't have any data gathering at all. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have any stats that were provided for us. Like, it was literally nothing. So like,
How many emails?
oh shit, I entered in 8 orders today. It was a fucking really good day. Like,
Yeah.
and then I come in on Monday and wow, we had 20 orders over the weekend. That's fucking
But
good.
damn, now I got to manually enter.
Now I
each
got to
one.
manually
So
enter them all in.
This
right?
goes back to the beginning when Dylan was talking about doing you have to do things the wrong way.
Yeah.
And you have to do everything the wrong way in order to figure out what you really need. So by Dylan doing this, it would take him a couple hours some days. And I'm like, dude, you're wasting way too much time entering these orders in. Like, we got to figure out a faster way to do it. So like, we ran into those roadblocks where then we found a much more efficient way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's with anything. That's with no matter what size scale. Like, we're learning that even today.
Yeah, I mean, you still have problems no matter what. There's just different problems, right? So
Right.
like, we had a ton of different problems that at the time, now looking back, we think, oh, that was the obvious, easy fix problem. But at the time, it was like, holy fuck, like, this is a huge.
Right.
Your resources and your knowledge is so limited at the time. You know what I mean? But like, we're probably thinking that now. 5 years from now, we're gonna look back at the problems we're facing right now and be like, duh. Like, exactly.
Yeah.
We deal with that on a daily basis now, or that problem was solved a year ago with this system that we introduced.
Yeah.
But like, it was crazy. But anyway, to get back to your point, so like, entering order, and so after I would enter orders, I would go in and answer customer emails, right? Which is a nonstop job, right? So like, being an e-commerce company, you will always have customers reaching out. You always have emails to answer. So like, that was one thing that I always kind of struggled with was just giving a certain amount of time to do that. You know what I mean? But because I always felt like I had to answer every single customer right away. You know what I mean? Like, holy fuck, they're trusting me with a couple $100 of their hard-earned money for this product. Like, they deserve an answer right away. So like, it would drive me nuts if customer emails weren't answered, within a few hours. So like, I would always go through and answer all the oldest customer emails and try and get as caught up as possible. And then I would go and help Dayne, and Dayne would print off the spreadsheet, right? I don't even know what we were using for an inventory tracking system at the time. I don't think we had anything.
You know what it was? You know what it was?
It was MRP Easy, right?
No, we had literally a clipboard.
I was gonna say.
No, seriously, we would write down. We'd go out there every Friday and count.
Yeah, dude.
How many seats are sitting on the shelves?
Yeah, I remember doing inventory.
And you would just because at that point it was like 15. 15 seats.
We could
you
literally
count
do
inventory in an hour.
Yeah, in an hour. So like,
it wasn't like the biggest thing. Yeah, it was. Dude, damn, I'm like having flashbacks now. It's kind of crazy.
But then we would print off that spreadsheet. So what we would do then is that Dayne would look at the spreadsheet and he'd be like, okay, what do we have in inventory? And highlight them what we could get out, right? And then we would, based on what we had in inventory, we'd highlight those, and then we would go out and package those orders up.
Yeah.
Right. And then a lot of times the inventory was wrong, so we're like, fuck. Now the label's printed off, so they got the email that their product is shipping out, and our inventory was wrong. Well, now we have to go rummage through all these boxes that we had laying on the ground and steal inventory from another order to obviously you can see the problems that are going to raise.
Fulfill the oldest one, and then if you go back, you've missed something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then just there's so much stuff like dumping the peanuts in there. We didn't have any peanut dispensers. Like, we were spray painting our logo with a stencil on the box.
So
like, it was
you
insane.
see those big peanut bags out there.
Yeah.
The 20, cubic inches or whatever?
20 cubic feet.
Cubic feet. The bags are huge. Okay, so we were taking these and like literally dumping them into we'd cut like a little slot in it and dump it into the boxes, level them out the best we could. But a lot of the times, like, they were like a balloon almost.
You put too much peanuts in.
You put too much peanuts in, then you'd have to scoop some out, put it in a different box. Next thing you know, you're walking on peanuts essentially at the end of the night.
Wow.
Well, peanut dispenser is like, what,
$300?
$300? And it's like,
hell no.
$300? Fuck, that's a lot. That's a lot
Damn.
of money at
I
the
ain't
time.
paid
Like,
$300. I was pouring these in with my hand,
Yeah.
It was I mean, our rent was $2,000 a month, and we did, or yeah, $2,000.
That's wild.
Yeah, we were like,
Yeah.
didn't know how we were gonna pay that. We can't afford a peanut dispenser, you know, like it was crazy.
So going back to like, I want to hear about your like what was going through your mind. Okay, so you're at Vyper for part after work for about like 8 to 9 months, and where at like what point were you like, okay, I want to make the jump? And what was going through your mind? What conversations did you have to have with Nicole, at your wife at the time and current?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I said at the time, because it's still your wife.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're still married.
So what conversations were you having with Nicole? Like, what was going through your mind? Like, somebody that was in your boots right now, like, what would you recommend, or what would be insightful for them to hear?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's, you know, particular situation, I guess, is always a little different, right? But like, you know, I will tip my hat to Nicole a lot, because she had a good paying job as well, and a job that she enjoyed. And, you know, we talked and we're like, well, if, you know, this doesn't work out, at least you still have a job, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, at least we wouldn't be like homeless or anything and lose our house and everything. Like, she still has a job. If this doesn't work, you know, we'll have to shift gears, and I'll have to go find a new job, right? So like, but I mean, regardless, to answer your question, like I knew I was leaving Bailey regardless. You know what I mean? Whether it was going to work for Vyper or whether it was going to work for somebody else. You know what I mean? So obviously, I'm going to go the route that Vyper can, you know, be your own boss and run your own company with your brother, right? Like why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
You know? So I knew I wanted to make that decision, but you know, like what Dayne's getting at is what was going through my head when making that decision was like, I just want, holy fuck, that's it. That was like what was going through my head. You know what I mean? Like,
I could tell the first week you were there, I could feel like you're kind of like, fuck.
Well, yeah,
I don't know if that, you know.
So that working for our parents' company, that was all I knew. Like, that's what I did my entire life. Like I said, from I was 13 years old till, you know, how old was I when I left? 28, 29, 28, something like that, whatever. But like, that's all I knew was working there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like, that was life. Like that was it. You know what I mean? And just the thought of leaving that and doing something on your own with all this uncertainty and doubt. I mean, we had doubt from so many people, you know, like that just builds on top of you too. Like
I'd say it was family and friends doubt, for sure. Especially on your side of like, hey, are you sure you're going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been really good at like not letting what people think bother me. So like that was never really a problem for me, because like I just don't give a fuck. You know, so like
it's pretty easy just not to care. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's hard to explain that to somebody. Like, well, how do you not let this shit that people think bother you? I mean, I don't know. You just don't give a fuck.
No,
You know what I mean? Like,
He does have a unique look at it.
I don't know. Just
Dylan
don't care.
Doesn't emotion side of things doesn't really play a factor in your thought process.
No,
you know?
I mean, my emotion is hungry. That's it.
Yeah.
Be so hungry.
And hot. I'm hot right now too.
Really?
Yeah, it's getting a little warm in here.
We finally have the AC on for once.
I guess hot's not an emotion though, is it?
No, not really.
So it's awesome getting two sides of the perspective, because we were both in two different situations. Like, he was coming from a paying job, I had nothing. So like when he was saying, oh, I would have, like, if it didn't work out, I would have worked somewhere else. Where like for me, it was like, that's all I fucking had. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it was either that or like I was gonna do whatever it took to make this work.
So
yeah, but I mean,
you
it's
know?
the same mentality. You would have did something else, right? Just like I would have, just in a different capacity. You know what I mean? Like, basically, it's the same mindset. Is you just don't accept failure. So, okay, if this doesn't work, go to the next thing. Same thing, right? Just in a different capacity. So,
But
I mean,
we did hit failure with the motors.
We did.
We had a different look at it. Like, it was just Vyper as a whole. Like, we knew what we wanted to build. We just didn't know what it was, because it didn't start off chairs. You know, you were doing motors with me.
right.
for
So,
a
I mean,
little
the
bit.
motors was even preludes all of this, you know?
Right.
So, like, we were selling the electric motors for industrial purposes, right? And for industrial machinery. And it was, I want to say it was maybe starting to gain traction a very little bit, but We found out almost immediately that it was a very tough industry to get into. It's very cutthroat, and it's basically what we found out is nobody cares about the quality. They just want the cheapest thing possible. And that's not what we were about. We wanted to sell quality products, not the cheapest, bullshit product, right? So that, I think that was the hardest part for us to swallow, is just because we can't sell junk. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to sell something that somebody's not going to be happy with, right. And that's what we couldn't do. But so, I mean, we started this motor thing, right? And I remember we went down to our first customer, right, Cole Iron Works in Indianapolis, and Dayne and I drove down there in a day. We loaded up a couple motors. We finally got these people. I think we were talking to them on Instagram, talking to Cole on Instagram, and they're like, yeah, well, we're willing to give you guys a shot. We want to see some samples. All right, so we loaded up our dad's truck with a couple motor samples and literally left at 5 a.m, drove straight down to Indianapolis for what?
We're there for maybe half
an hour meeting.
Maybe.
Gave him the motors. They're like, yeah, these look pretty cool. We'll put them on a machine and try them out. Thanks, let us know how it goes.
So one thing
drove back home. Like, it was crazy. I don't know. It was just,
our mindset back then is still the same as it is right now. And the reason we drove down there was to build a relationship. We're always face-to-face people. Like, we always want to build relationships with those that we want to do business with. We could have easily just shipped them there. We could have shipped 2 motors there. But it's that something about that face-to-face connection that just completely changes that relationship for the better. You can actually understand somebody, and people just talk and like feel their energy.
It shows your commitment too.
That as well. Like, what was the drive? What did you say it was? 12 hours? Or 8 hours?
It was like 6 hours one way.
Oh yeah.
And then we got all mixed up because you had to take me to Chick-fil-A, because at that time I've never been to a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, it took his Chick-fil-A virginity, dude.
Wow.
It was the best.
That sounds fucking weird.
Yeah, it does. So
I didn't take it. Chick-fil-A took it.
You said
I brought you there to get taken.
We'll let the camera decide that one.
So, anyways, so I'm sure
you guys make it really weird.
Sam
you guys
looks at me like,
you guys make it weird.
You said it.
I know, but you guys made it weird. There's nothing weird about that. Okay. What is it called when you do something for the first time? You
pop your cherry.
Correct. Or
that's all I know.
Okay, so sorry, you got your Chick-fil-A cherry popped.
Pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
Right. All right.
So going back, Dylan, you knew about all the business ventures that Dayne had tried previously, right?
Yep.
And you knew that some of them, had flopped. Was there anything that stood out when he started asking you for help? Like, okay, does he actually need help, or, is this going to be like one of the businesses last time, or like, was there something that just stood out to you when you decided to?
Yeah, he was making money. We were getting orders, which, not to throw shade at you, wasn't happening with your other ventures, right?
I rightfully admit it. That's why a lot of them just kind of cut ways with,
Yeah, and I think it would be, from the outside looking in to hear, that somebody has previous failed ventures. Obviously it's not like a precursor to, knowing the next one's also going to fail. But I feel like you would definitely look inside, like, in from the outside and be like, okay, like, is this actually going somewhere? Like, is there something being overlooked? Yeah, the orders are coming in, but is it actually that profitable? Did any of that cross your mind ever? Or
it wasn't really about profitability. I knew we were gonna do everything we could to make it go, right? So like that was gonna happen regardless of the fact. It was kind of just like a perfect storm of everything. Where I wanted to leave, Dayne needed help, Vyper was gaining traction, and it's just one of those things where like I said, it was the perfect storm where like I had to make the jump or probably regret it for the rest of my life. And there's not a single day that goes by that I don't regret it. So, if there's anybody out there that's doubting it or wishes they would have made the jump, it's still not too late. Like you can do it. Obviously you have to plan accordingly. Like I sold everything I had. Like besides my house, obviously I kept, because we just moved in. Had our house out in the country, and like I sold all my toys. I had toys and everything. I had UTVs, boats, snowmobiles, cars, everything. Sold it all, right? Get rid of all your debt, and you want to keep as much of your money as possible, and that's what I did, right? Sold all my toys, get as much of your money back that you have, because I didn't know if this was going to work. So I needed to have something to fall back on if it didn't work. You know what I mean? So, and that's...
I didn't know that part.
See,
Yeah.
So one thing with that, though, is you kind of you went all in.
Well, I mean, that's
So-
really the only way to do it, isn't
Right.
it?
But you were just saying before of like, be smart with it. You can't just dip your toes in. Like,
Well, no,
'cause
I
when
mean...
you dip your toes in and you're feeling the waters, you're not 100% committed to where, like, essentially, like, your life kind of does depend on it. Like, you have to go truly all in on it to get a spark.
I mean, what I was saying there, what I meant there is I was preparing. You know what I mean? Like setting my chess pieces so I could make the next move. Right? That's what I was doing. Like, even you have to do that with everything. You can't just, all right, fuck it, I'm all in. Like, you have to prepare for it. And,
Yeah, but
and
I mean, but
get
be
everything
wise
ready
with
to
it
go
at
and
the
be
same
wise.
time.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something you have to do. And like I said before, everybody's situation is a little different. So it's like you have to. Especially because I didn't have any kids at the time. That was a deal breaker. Honestly, I don't know what would have, if I would have did it or not if I had kids, because now after having a kid, fuck, it would be 10 times harder. It would be 10 times harder.
Yeah.
Like, just seeing the little guy and being like, shit, like, did I just fuck this little dude over? Like, you know what I mean?
or it'd push you harder.
It would push you harder. Yeah, you'd use it as motivation for sure, as always in the back of your head. And it does for me right now too. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about it at lunch today. Like,
Yeah.
use
not-
everything for motivation.
We're not anywhere where we want to be. Like, I love where we're at right now, but like, it's always, all right, what can we do better? Let's keep turning this dial up even more. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got this podcast room. Okay, it's nice. How do we get it bigger?
How do we make it better?
How do we make it better? And that's with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the shit doesn't happen overnight. I mean, right? We've been doing this for 3 years now, and going to be doing it for many more years, right? But I mean, just use these microphone stands for an example. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is already a second iteration of the mic stands.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm sure they'll go another stage past this.
right. So
in
what our
6
next one's
months
going to
a
be?
year or
Like,
whatever.
all this stuff takes time. You can't just boom all of a sudden 3 months and all right, back to the way it was, or this is the best this is going to be, or whatever. You know what I mean? It takes time. You got to work. You got to go. You got to show up every single day. You got to grind every single day. It's got to put in your time.
One last thing on the touch point on the brother side of things. So in today's society, there's a lot of like, don't get in business, or be careful of getting in business with your family. Be careful of getting in business with your brother. What do you have to say on that?
Well, I mean, obviously it depends on your relationship with your family, right? I mean, we're fortunate enough to have a great, family foundation, great family backing and support. So that's been a huge help. I mean, in our instance, it works out great because we excel at different things, right? So Dayne is great on the marketing aspect of it and getting the image out there and selling product, and I'm better in the back, behind the scenes, engineering, operations type stuff, right? So and then they mesh perfectly, and we're not butting heads all the time. So I mean, and I think the biggest thing is we have the same goal, which is the progress of Vyper. That's it. You know what I mean? Like that is our goal. So I mean, no matter who you're in business with, friend, family, parent, brother, sister, whatever they are, if you don't have the same goal in mind, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter what your relationship is with them. I mean, it's pretty much that simple.
Yeah, we both have the mindset of let's blow it. Like, how big can we take it?
Let's fucking go.
Seriously,
what I mean?
how big can we possibly push this thing?
If you have conflicting personalities and somebody's in it for themselves, and that's clearly not going to work. Like it's literally that simple. Got to have the same goal.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, is there any takeaways you'd like to add? Maybe Dylan's got a good takeaway. Usually at the end of the podcast, we like to just do a little takeaway. That's something that somebody, maybe starting their own business, or, maybe they're an entrepreneur, something that you could take away and use as practical advice. I'm not talking like, like if I could wake up tomorrow morning and do one thing to make my life better, or to, to start my own business or whatever it might be?
So this is something that I heard on Andy Frisella's podcast. I don't know, a couple years
Oh
ago.
no, you can't say it then. You can't say it. Remember on his last podcast? He says,
I'm giving him the credit though.
No,
I mean,
he's
I'm
good
not
as
taking
shit.
credit for it at all. But it's just something that he said
he
that
scours people. All you guys will take what I say and use it for your own.
it's fine. This is 100% his credit. You could have it.
Let's hear it.
But it's something that just stuck with me that I think about all the time. And I mean, one of our good family friends mentioned it to us as well. The journey is the jam. That's what you gotta, take the time to embrace right now. You know what I mean? Because like our family friend has said, building the company up, those were the good days. Those were the fun days. That's what we enjoyed. Those are the days I miss. Once it's all built up and kind of everything is running itself, and you have teams and built out and executives and this and that, and it's like, fuck, this is all great and this was the goal and everything, but it's like, fuck those old days where we had to frickin' bootstrap it and get your hands dirty.
Drinking beer while boxing chairs.
Those are the days you miss.
Yeah.
So like the journey is the jam. Take in the little days and take every step, take every day, enjoy every day, embrace it, and just keep moving forward. So
Shout
I
out
like that one.
That was by Finn. Finn said that, didn't he?
Yeah, Finn.
I remember that conversation when he came to our old place.
Yeah.
Dude, we were at the old place. It was Dylan and I.
It was actually Mark Cornelli said it as well
He did.
when he was building Riverside Foods.
Yeah.
It's like the building days are the fun days, and they're all 100% fucking right.
So
I mean, not that these are bad days by any means, but like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like when you have a child, you're growing up, like when they're young and watching them grow. That's the fun thing.
That is a good point because especially a child's a good example is when they're a kid, you're like, oh, I can't wait till they can walk. Or, hey, I can't wait till they can talk.
Just
and it's
like,
like
when you're in a business,
right.
fuck, I can't wait till we're making money. I can't wait till we hire people to do this. I can't wait to hire people to do that.
So you
It's
wish for the future to come sooner, but then when it comes, you're like, damn, that went fast. Like, I wish it would. I wish I could go back now. You know. But I remember that conversation when Finn was at our old building. It was a stressful day. I remember that. I don't know what happened. Something with our vendors, and he like pulled us both in. He just like started smiling. He's like, I get where you guys are at right now. And he's like, let me tell you, I would give you every dollar I have to be back where you guys are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Finn's a super successful dude. Is like 50 years old, retired for probably 10 years now. And he's like, the phases you guys are, this building phase that you're doing over the next 10 years, you guys will look back on and be like, damn, I miss that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know? And he's like, it's going to happen sooner than later, so just smell the roses every single day while you can.
Yeah.
I just think it's cool that, like, okay, you and I didn't really talk much growing up.
I
And
mean, a little bit. We lived in the same house.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
no, but we didn't really associate much. Like, we didn't have the
No,
same
I
friend
mean-
group or anything. Like,
We were a weird age group, age gap apart, right? So I think 3.5, almost 4 years apart. So like, I was out of high school before he got there, so we both had our own friend groups, and we just kind of did our own thing. It's not like we didn't get along. We just did our own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I went and worked for the family company. Dayne went to school and did his things, and it's like, we got along, but it was just, we never, honestly, I never really thought we'd be in business together, but it's been pretty awesome doing it since then. So
yeah, it's just cool. Like,
Yeah, very cool.
especially in college, like 4 years in college, I don't think, like, that was when we really didn't talk. Like,
No, because,
you
I
lived
mean-
at your own house. Like, I lived obviously at school, and we didn't really communicate much. And then, like, immediately after that is kind of when this started to go.
Dylan, who? Oh, my brother.
yeah, sometimes, because I remember I remember hearing from my parents that you were going to our parents that you were going to India, and I'm like, I didn't fucking know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he made us switch our cell phone provider because Cellcom
we had
didn't
Cellcom.
have.
Like,
Who are you gonna call in India? And
Yeah,
using Cellcom.
still kind of want to communicate with you guys. Would be nice.
Well, everyone except Dylan.
Yeah, except Dylan.
Yeah.
But no, this was cool. I'm excited to continue to take the journey of the phases that when Dylan was first coming on.
Yeah.
And start talking about. I love talking about more of those stories, like, because how many times do we listen to Andy's podcast or whoever it is? I don't know why we keep going back to Andy, but business podcasts where they just say broad stuff like, oh, every day you got to go all in. Oh, it's going to be tough in the beginning. Let's go into detail. You know, like that's what I want to do on the next one. Like,
get ready to get kicked in the fucking nuts every single day. Remember that? Like, did you wear your nut cup today? Because we're about to get kicked in the freaking bag every single day. You gotta be good at taking it. Like,
so that was weird.
Well, I mean, now you made it weird.
I'll let the camera decide. No, but next podcast I want to go in depth of like because all those stories I like. Now that you brought it up, I remember it. I was like, damn, there's probably so many more that we could talk about that like can give an idea of like what actually built this company to where we are right now. You know?
I have so many stories from the old building, dude.
Dude, it's
like,
good.
Let's go over them next time.
Tried to be on a freaking conference call and mom's with the bolts in the background, and I'm like,
I forgot about that. Oh, dude, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be fun to talk about.
Cool.
There's a lot of
next
stories.
time.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. I don't have a Vyper energy can here.
That's okay. Hey, Brent, if you're watching, and you should be because you're editing.
You're editing it.
Yeah, toss in one of the other Vyper Energy ads that we did.
This podcast was brought to you by Vyper Energy. Vyper Energy is and will be the cleanest energy drink on the market. It will be launching on that has no artificial flavoring, no artificial sweeteners, and no preservatives. It has vitamin C, vitamin B1, B6, B9, B12, D3. It has magnesium, zinc, and it also has all 9 essential amino acids. Not only that, the caffeine is all natural. It is 98% green tea extract, and that is topped with L-theanine. L-theanine is a nootropic, and it gets you absolutely focused. This will give you the energy you need to go all in without the crash. Well, thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for tuning in. And
Dylan, thank you for being on here. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.